this live webinar that has become necessary for me to do to lend my voice to what is going on and how we can correct whatever is currently going on in the school system. But before I go further, once again, welcome. My name is Adebowale-Morotito. I am an educational consultant, uh, uh, focused solely more or primarily on school structure, school management, and growth. Um, my major focus is to work with school owners and school leaders to be able to build up structures that will make their schools become successful. I am also the lead consultant, Monodel Educational Consulting, and the initiator of Teachers on Purpose. All right, so that is that about me. I am very particular about the school system, probably because I have been a teacher or an educator um, through the whole aspect. I've been a classroom teacher. I've worked as a secondary school teacher. I've also worked as an educational leader, as a school leader in two different cities in Nigeria. I've worked across different departments to make sure that things are done in the right way. One of the reasons why I actually left the classroom, as a matter of fact, was because I wanted something. I wanted to be able to influence what comes into the classroom. I wasn't fully satisfied. I wasn't really getting along with the things that were dumped inside the classroom. So I felt, okay, fine. If I don't like it, then let me put myself in on the pitch and play. Because if I remain on the stand, definitely there's no way I'm going to be able to influence whatever. It's only the players that are able to, or the manager that are able to influence. So I thought, let me go into the field and also become a player in formulating policies and working on things that get thrown at the school system. So basically, that is what I do, and that is my vision, that is my goal, and that's basically about me. So this evening, we are going to be talking about school structure, policies, and procedures for safety. The safety of the children under your care as a school owner or as a teacher or as an educator in a learning facility or in a learning institution is very important. You cannot actually achieve anything meaningful if you don't take the safety of these children very important. Like I said in my update this morning, people that have worked with me actually know that when it comes to safety of the children, I can be very, very dotting. I can be everywhere just to make sure that things are going on well with the children. If children are on the field, there should be teachers around them, and that's why there's the importance of adult to student ratio that must be implemented by schools. You see, leaving 20, 30 children to one adult it's not going to work. It's not going to work. So we need structures to be put in place in schools, and that's why sometimes when I discuss the school policy, and we let them understand the fact that there is a need for you to put a structure in place, a structure that can address problems even before they arise. That can prevent challenges, crises from happening. At the same time, that can take care of them when they arise. So it's more of preventing and controlling. There will definitely be crises sometimes. There will definitely be challenges. There will definitely be problems. There will definitely be issues coming up. But before they come up, there should be a system in place. There should be a structure in place that can prevent it. If eventually it happens, because you can't leave that out. If eventually it damages the school brand before it damages even the students or the teachers or the parents involved, it's important that we all work together to make sure that whatever happens in the school system is to the benefit of the learners, is to the benefit of the parents, is to the benefit of the teachers, is to the benefit of the school owners or the school leaders. That is a very important part of what we are going to be doing today. So when we talk about the school structure, it is the foundation upon which the school system is built. It is the foundation where the school system is built. So when you are just starting your school, you need to be able to put structures in place, not just waiting for things to happen. or believing that you can adequately just use your thinking alone. Okay, it happens. This is what we do, and then it goes on like that. Then another thing happens. No, there should be a structure in place that takes care of everyone and everything. I hope you get that. There should be a structure that takes care of everyone and everything. It means that the internal operation of your school, that is what we were talking about when it is school structure. It is the internal operation of your school. Let me put it down. It is the internal operation of your school, which means that everything and everyone, human and material resources, are adequately taken care of in a way that would help you achieve your goal. There is a goal or there is a vision for you establishing that school. So for you to be able to achieve that vision, you need structure in place. Your structure will take care of your internal operations. It connect the interconnectivity that happens between people, between materials in your school, internally and even externally, is what the structure is going to be working on. In any organization at all, structure is very important. Structure is very, very important. I believe you follow it. Structure is very important because it clearly defines the goal. It also defines the responsibility for each person. How are we moving from A to B? How are we moving from B to C? Who is moving A to C? Who is moving B to D? So it clearly is important for each organization, not just school alone. And that's why school owners must realize the fact that you're running a corporate organization, you're running a business, and it must be handled in that way, in that manner. So it is important that we understand the fact that governance for our school or system for schools must run the right way, that you run a corporate organization. That is very important, and I needed to give us that background for us to understand adequately where we are heading towards, or where we are going. In putting up structure, there are three things that I usually advise school leaders or school owners to often look at or put up. Documentation is part, but it's also it's a base. Documentation is the base of your school structure development. Now, I'm going to be talking about three things. I'm going to be talking about processes, I'm going to be talking about policies, and I'm going to be talking about procedures. There must be procedures for how you carry out your day-to-day activity in the school. There must be processes that leads from A to D. There must be policies in place that shapes, that guides how people relate, that guides what goes on, what happens, how something is attended to, how things are done in your school organization. So it's important that we define these three, because these three helps in achieving your goals, in helping you understand how everything is connected together. Also, why do you think we need policies and procedures? Someone may ask right now. We need policies and procedures to set the tone for how the school is going to be managed. Now, in the management of school, it is not just the school head that comes into play. No, everybody manages the school. I am the school owner, I manage a school. I am the principal, I manage the school. I am a teacher, I manage the school. I am a student, I'm also part of the school management. Because in a way, whatever I do matters a lot. Whatever I do goes a long way to affect the brand, the school brand. So we all manage the school together. So we need policies and procedures to serve as rules and regulations for everyone within the school system. It serves as rules and regulations, do's and don'ts. Do this, don't do this. When you do this, this is what happened. This is the consequences of your actions and your inactions, as the case may be. So it is important that we have policies and procedures in place that would guide our actions and our inactions and everything. It creates a safe learning environment. It creates a safe, 1 minute please. Okay. It creates a safe learning environment. You see, when you have policies, procedures, processes in place, you realize that things are done in an organized manner. So when your school is organized, When your school is organized, you discover that processes that leads to what you want to achieve become seamless. And as such, you achieve your results and people see it. And then people feel your school is growing. Yes, your school is growing because it is organized. When it is not organized properly with the right structure, your growth is affected. The learning process is affected. The end product, the receiver is affected, which is the students, is affected. Even the teachers are affected because in a way they won't grow professionally and personally. They won't grow. So it is important that we put policies and processes in place for us to be able to achieve our set goals and to be able to establish productivity within the school system. Your teachers must become productive. Other employees in your school system must also become productive. And this will only happen when you have processes, when you have policies and procedures in place. And this is important not just for businesses alone to have standard operating procedures. It's equally important for schools to have standard operating procedures, SOPs. You see, I see a lot of schools these days that don't have. They don't have the document. They don't have policy documents. They don't have SOPs. Why? Because they believe that everything that has to do with the school is just teaching and learning. You come in the morning, we teach you till the afternoon, you go to your house. Even if they do activities. So these days, that even as a matter of fact, many schools want to add a lot of co-curricular activities to student learning, and they don't put policies in place, they don't put procedures in place, they don't put the right processes in place for some of those things to function. Even the learning and teaching in the classroom needs procedure. Teachers don't just barge into the classroom. There's a timetable. There's a time allocated. There's duration. There is a content. There's a way you present the content. These are procedures. These are processes that forms what happens in your school. So we need policies and procedures in the school system for us to be able to achieve the end goal, for us to have rules and regulations in place, for us to also enhance productivity of employees in the school. Schools are complex organizations. They are complex organizations that have many moving parts. They have a lot of moving parts. And if we need to make the moving parts align together, there must be organization and there must be structure. I don't want to beat structure too much. So I will probably just quickly go now and move into the core of what we're doing today, which is safety, safeguarding our learners, whether they are within the school or they are outside the school. As long as they are under the umbrella of the school, it's important that their safety is guaranteed. They are not just left alone to themselves. To cater for themselves, where accidents can happen, even when they are being observed, even when they are being monitored, even when the teachers are there to look at them, accidents still happen. You know, let alone leaving them alone to themselves. So it is important that we put policies and procedures in place to make sure that things are going on very well. Parents keep their children with you, trusting that you're going to look after them. For some of us, particularly for me as a parent, I'm very particular about what my where my children go, what they do. If I'm around them, my eyes is always on them. I'm not perfect, but my eye is always trying to watch them to make sure that there are no accidents or things that could cause problem one way or the other. So parents, when they put their children in your care, they are expecting you as a school. They are putting their trust in you as a school to take care of their children. Now, when we talk about taking care of children, it is not just based on teaching and learning in the classroom. You have to take care of them all round. Look after their emotional well-being, look after their psychological well-being, look after their physical well-being, look after their academic, their mental, their whole well-being is what is expected of a school to look after. So school owners need to come up, school leaders need to come up to see what we can do. Because in order for a school to run effectively, policies must be in place, you know, procedures must be in place to make sure that things go the way they're supposed to go, to guide the day-to-day procedures or activities in a school, one way or the other. schools have guidelines, and I'm going to talk about 3 of them. We've talked about policies, procedures, and processes. Now I'm going to talk about the guidelines that we need in our schools. When you're just coming up with the idea to start your school, I want to believe that you must understand that there are government policies, government rules, and guidelines that you must take note of. So importantly, school owners must take note of bylaws. They must take note of policies. They must take note of procedures. These bylaws are the legal framework put in place by the government to make sure that schools run in an effective manner that would not hamper on the child's learning process. That is 1. 2, policies. Policies are put in place by the school themselves most of the time, or authorities, to make sure that rules and expectations are set. Consequences are also stated. There are expectations we expect, we demand, or the expectations we have as regards people in the school system. Excuse me, people in the school system. So policies must be put in place to make sure that this is done. Then we talk about procedure. Procedure dictates, or dictates the school operations. It codifies the school operations. What goes on in the school is what the procedures will take place. The right process, the right policies and procedures will improve your school in no small measure. Policies that should be in place in school, I will divide this into 3 categories, 3 broad categories, the kind of policies that we should have in our school. And now we are at the core of this. I need you to please pay rapt attention to what we're going to be doing. What we have been saying since morning is just the basis, the foundation of what we are going to be discussing. And now we're going deep into the discussion itself. So I'm going to divide the guidelines that schools should have into 3, or the policies that we should have in place into 3 broad areas. I'm going to have it on the statutory policies that you're supposed to have as a school. We're going to have the discretionary one that you're supposed to have, and then I'm going to talk about I'm going to look briefly, because that is not really the core of today's webinar, curriculum policies that you're supposed to have. But believe me, the 2 we are going to be looking at more is actually statutory and discretionary policies that you're supposed to have. Statutory by the fact that these are established policies that you're supposed to have in a school, particularly as it goes in line with the bylaws of the authorities, bylaws of the government, or the legal framework, as the case may be. And then the discretionary, the ones you come up with as a school to guide your operations. The fact is that even when you're just growing as a new school, there are schools already on ground, and then there are consultants. So you need to reach out to consultants. You need to reach out to schools that are already established to probably put you through on some of the statutory and discretionary policies that you need. In a structured society or developed worlds, these things are easy to come by. They are already stipulated. They are there for you. But in a situation where we find ourselves in a country like ours, or in a continent like ours, I'm not trying to debase us, but I'm just trying to state the reality. Then we need to constantly remind ourselves of why we need the statutory and the discretionary policies to be in place. So let me quickly run through some of these policies, some of these statutory and discretionary policies. You have school trip policies. If the students are going on a trip, there must be policies and procedures in place. You have health and safety. You have administration of drug. You have sick child policy. You have missing child policy. You have supervision, student supervision policy that states that how many teacher stays with the children, or how many adults to students, and then it dictates how the process will be in terms of head count, in terms of total observance or observation of whatever is going on. You need to look at the different aspects of that. So these are statutory and discretionary policies that you need to have as a school. In terms of, okay, a child is sick, should you bring the child to school? The other day, I think a post came up on CPE, Concerned Parents and Educators Network. It came up and a question was asked that should schools have seek for permission before they use student pictures and videos? The answer is yes. Just like majority agreed. The answer is yes. You need to seek for parents' permission before you take the students' pictures. You need to seek for parents' permission before you take the children on a trip. You need to seek for parents' permission before you administer drugs at all, if at all you're going to even administer drugs to learners. You have to take permissions before you apply anything on the children's body. You need to take permissions from parents to say, I'm taking your child to XYZ by so day. This is the procedures that are laid down. This is what we expect from you. This is what you should expect from the school. This is what the school expects from the teacher. This is what your policies and procedures will state. So you must put some of these policies in place, not because we want to make the work difficult for you, no, but because we want to guide against accidents. Schools need to do more, and I'm being sincere right now. Schools need to do more in terms of processes and procedures that are in place. If the learners are going to be leaving the school or even staying within the school, and they're going to be engaging in PE, physical education, or they are going to be involved in any sporting activities, there must be adequate processes in place. There must be stated, documented procedures in place to state that teacher ABC will be in charge of DEF, and this is the way they are going to carry out the operation. You don't just leave it to people, or you don't just leave it to, especially these days that people get carried away. So it is important for us as school owners and school leaders to put some of these policies and structures in place to make sure that this school run the right way it should be. We can actually avoid a lot of accidents that are happening right now. We can actually avoid them, believe me, because if you have read the father's statement, particularly the boy that got drowned after the swimming lesson, if you have read the statement from the father, you will know that a lot of things are not right. In the way schools are being managed. Okay, a child is under your care, and the child got injured. What do you do? What do you do? There must be a form that you're going to fill. You must fill a form. That is number one. You must also inform the parents that, okay, during blah, 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 this happened to your child. This is the steps we have taken. Let it be recorded and let it be communicated to the parents. It's not until parents get home and they see that there's a mark on their child and they start calling the school and say, hello, I'm just seeing this mark on my child. What is going on? What happened? And then you start explaining. That is wrong. That is wrong. So when parents are also signing up for some of your co-curricular activities, you must, as a matter of fact, also have documents that states this is the guideline. This is what you should expect from us as a school. This is what we expect from you as the family or as a parent. This is what we as a school also expect from the students. These things need to be clearly spelled. And teachers need to be trained, retrained, and managed in a way that they understand some of these processes. Like I said in my introduction, people that know me while I was working as a school head knows that I don't take it for granted. There must be adults in the right ratio watching these children. Watching these children. It is super important. Super important. School trip, educational visits, and you don't have any policy on it, it can't work. You need a policy on school trips, on educational visits. If you're going on excursions, if you're going on tours, there must be policies and processes and procedures in place. There must be a documented standard operational guide that states this is what is going to happen. This is how we're going to do it. Before we leave, as a matter of fact, you run school bus. There should be a policy. There should be processes. There should be procedures. Before students come into the bus, there must be a roll call for you to know, okay, who hasn't entered, so that we don't leave the child behind in school. The same way when you're dropping the child with the parents, you don't just drop the child and just leave. A lot of things happen, and we see it. You just get to the bus stop and you drop the child, and that's the end. You don't care anymore. Your bus attendant or your bus driver doesn't care anymore. It's not supposed to be. It's not supposed to be. So it is important for schools to have these processes in place, these documents in place stating that X, Y, Z will be done and will be done this way. This is who is going to be in charge. Okay, last week I was working with a particular school owner, and I went through the school operation and I looked at what they do, and I discovered a bit of disorganization. Even though they have very good programs, co-curricular programs now, they have very good ones, but there is no organization. It wasn't coordinated. So I was asking, who is in charge of this? Everybody is in charge. And when everybody is in charge, you can't hold anybody responsible. And there won't be coordination. There won't be organization. So at the end of the day, anything happens and anything goes. Everybody keeps quiet. Everybody keeps quiet. So as a school owner, as a school leader, as a teacher, please get yourself acquainted with some of these policies. Put them in place in your school to guide against this. Train your teachers on health and safety. Train them on how to safeguard learners, how to watch learners under their care, and not just leave them to do whatever they have to do on their own. No, it can't work. It can't work. So instead of loading your school with different activities, instead of loading them with things you cannot manage adequately right now, why not take the little you can manage? Why not take the little you can manage and do it for them? As you grow, you increase. As you grow, you increase. You add up to those activities, those curricular activities that you were doing. You add up to them. And that's why I've decided to do this, to have this interaction with us. This is not a class. I need us to understand that part. This is not a class. This is an interactive session for us to understand the missing link, for us to understand the things that are missing. The documents are missing. Personnel are missing. People that are supposed to take charge of this processes and procedures, they are missing. There's nothing bad if you want to have swimming in your school. There's nothing bad if you want to go on an educational trip in your school. Absolutely. There's nothing bad about it. But is the right structure in place for you to achieve that? Is the right structure in place for you to achieve that? Who takes care of what? Have you defined that? Have you clearly defined who takes charge? Who reports to who? Who gets the report? So you must structure the activities in your school just the same way you have structured your teaching and learning in the class. You must structure whatever happens to. No parent and no child rather comes close to the swimming arena without XYZ. You state it. There must be labels everywhere that states basic do's and don'ts that are expected, in different locations in the school. In your laboratory, are there warning signs? Are there adequate monitoring? Are there adults, supervising children when they are in the laboratory so that they don't pour chemicals on themselves or get themselves injured? It saddens my heart most of the time when news like this come up. It saddens my heart because it says, it goes a long way to say the kind of people we are as a nation. It goes a long way. It goes a long way. So I'm not going to take too much of your time. Like I said, this is not a class. This is an interactive session that I plan having with us. I can take questions. If you have questions, I will respond to it. But the main focus of why I'm doing this interactive session is for us to be able to address some of the problems that we are having in the school system right now, which is the fact that a lot of schools lack structure. A lot of schools are not organized. A lot of schools don't have documented policies. A lot of schools don't have standard operating procedures as regards the things that they do in their school. Attendance, no. Dressing, no. Activities or events, no. Relationship, no. So what are we doing? What are we doing? We need to put these things in place to make sure that there's a seamless flow of activities. There's a seamless flow of processes of the things that we do in our schools. I want to believe that we have been able to get one or two things out of this interactive session. If you have any question, please drop it. I'll do well to answer. You can still, I'm going to leave this on my wall so you can still get people in to listen to this, to watch this. And for you as a parent, okay, let me quickly discuss this. And for you as a parent, what is your role in all of this? Okay, before you take your child to that school, did you ask questions? Did you ask questions? So before you enroll your child in a school, you need to ask questions. You need to you need to go on a school tour to understand what they have, how they're taking care of these children. I think I said this sometimes ago in one of my classes with some school owners. I said, I've once been drilled for over 1 hour by a parent. The parent was just making inquiries and was actually ready to enroll, but needed answers to some questions. So I was drilled for 1 good hour. I think over an hour. I sat with the parent, questions upon questions, and I was answering. And even when we went on the tour of the school facility, trying to look at everything, there were questions. It shows a parent that understands that where I'm putting my child for the next 7 hours or more is important to me. I don't just leave them. I don't just leave them and say, it is the school, they are adults. Yes, they are adults. But are things put in place to guide these adults to make sure that they attend to your children in the right manner, in the right way? So it's important for us to work together, the school and the parents, with the government, to make sure that whatever happens in our school happens in a structured and organized manner. Not just anyhow. Not just leaving things to chance. Not just leaving everything to accident till it happens. Till it happens. Till it happens. Oh, I rebuke it. It will never happen in my school. Is that not what we do? Africans, Nigerians, is that not what we do? God forbid. Yes, there's a place of prayer. There's a place of faith. There's a place of positive mindset. But there's a place of taking proactive actions. Prayers will not do for you what actions would do. Actions will not do for you what prayers will do. You need the blend of them. So as much as you pray that God forbid that doesn't happen in your school, you need to put the structure in place. You need to put the structure in place to guide against that from happening. To guide against it from happening. It is your role as a parent to make sure that you understand where your child is going. It is your role as a school to make sure that children under your care are adequately taken care of and not just left, to do whatever they like. In the report that I read about that child, I think the father was claiming that when they watched the CCTV, they discovered that the child has been inside the water for over 20 minutes, and it was discovered by another person that was coming to use the pool. So questions we're supposed to be asking right now is that who was in charge of those children? Were roll calls not taken? How did it happen that they were able to forget a child inside the pool? How many adults were even there? And then the father was claiming that when the school was asked, when the school head was asked, was saying, I don't know, that kind of response.
Yes, you may think that that response should not form the basis for our judgment. Yes, but it leaves much to ask, that you have to wait for the parents to ask questions in a situation where accident has happened in the school under your care. School owners, school leaders must be proactive enough to put system and structure in place to prevent and to manage. To prevent and to manage. Don't wait till it happens. When it happens, what's the next thing to do? How do you quickly address it? How do you quickly manage it? Is what is expected of us to do. So I'm going to take our questions right now to make sure that it's not just from my end alone. I may have missed some points. I may have missed some things. I also want to learn from you. I also want to hear from you, whether as a parent, whether as a school owner, whether as a school leader, whether even as a consultant also. Or we are all stakeholders in the school system. You know, we are all stakeholders. So I want to listen. I want to hear from you to see how we can work together to make sure that schools provide the necessary environment, or the safe environment rather, that would make our children thrive. For the next few weeks or months, I'm going to be working closely with other consultants, other policy makers, other regulatory bodies, other school owners, to make sure that we work together to provide, and even with parents and teachers, permit me, I skip that, to make sure that we provide the system that would make our children attend schools in a safe environment, and make sure that their health and their well-being is taken care of. So right now I'm going to listen to us. Questions, comments, observations. Let's rub mine. Let's rub mine for us to be able to know where we are going, what we are going to do next, and how we're going to address a lot of these problems that we see. Thank you for your time so far. I'm going to be taking your questions now. Thank you. I hope that we do more of this. A lot of people don't even know what I do. You know, a lot of people don't even know. This is what I do. And I'm an educator. And so when you have anything that has to do with the school system, when you have anything to do with education, you can actually talk to me. I live and breathe education all around. So I'm going to listen to us now. Thank you so very much for your time, for starting with us, and for ending with me today again. Thank you so very much. I hope that we do this more. We do this and we share this across for others to see the things that they need to put in place. Your school, your children are going on excursion. Put the processes. Let it be documented. A child is under your care. The way you're going to care for the child should be documented. I think that's the summary of what we have been talking about. The way you are going to take care of the learners under your care. The way you're going. We are not disputing the fact that you want to take care of them, but how do you want to take care of them? The how should be clearly stated, should be clearly documented for everyone to see, for the school leaders to see, for the teachers to see, for the parents to see, and this is how we're going to be taken care of when, or this is how learners will be taken care of when they are under our care. Once again, thank you so very much. It's been a wonderful time this evening. I'm going to be taking our questions now and observations. Let's rub mind. Thank you.